which was one reason why the airlines and aeronautical companies throughout the world very shortly became copycats of what was going on in the United States. Now, I wanted to say that, and say that for a very important reason, because we're in one of the rooms at the Hiller Aviation Museum at San Carlos Airport, San Carlos, California, about halfway between San Jose and San Francisco. And it's important to make that note because not only am I a big fan of the museum here, but I'm very proud of what we've done. I use the word we in the broad sense. Mr. Stanley Hiller was a very successful manufacturer and aeronautical engineer. First, he started with normal airplanes, thanks to his father, standard airplanes, let's call them. But he very quickly became interested in helicopters, vertical flight. And he was one of the four dominant designers and manufacturers of vertical flight aircraft, helicopters, and became very prominent. And he had buildings in the Redwood City area with all kinds of aviation equipment and motor vehicle equipment, cars, motorcycles, small airplanes that he had designed, helicopters that he had designed very successfully. And but he had always wanted to establish a museum. That was a real big thing. He told all of us early volunteers here at the museum that this was his dream, this was his wish. And obviously it's named after him because he and his family and his foundation contributed the major part of the money involved in establishing this museum. We may be a relatively small museum compared to somebody like the Smithsonian, but we have equipment here on display in our museum that the Smithsonian would love to have. We have some very important one-off type aircraft, never manufactured anywhere else, never flew anywhere else, but equipment that influenced other engineers and other aeronautical engineers in the design of aircraft. So the people in the business know this and know that Stanley Hiller was one of the big names in not just helicopters, but in aviation in general. And he was a very sharing, and I say have because Stan died, I think, 4 years ago, and we miss him terribly. He was a very important man here in the museum, but also very important in the aviation industry. He was also a very giving individual and a very sharing individual. And we all, the early volunteers here and the professional staff who worked at the museum, knew that was just his manner, the way he was. And that's why we have some things here in the museum that other museums would love to have. And I hear and see this a lot. I'm one of the early volunteers here. I think I was number 2 volunteer here. I may have been number 3, but that's in dispute. But I've heard many people say that, oh boy, I wish we had that, or golly, how can such a small museum as the Hiller Museum have all of these important relics and examples of aviation history and one-off items that have never been built anywhere else. And we have several of them right here in our museum. I'm very proud to be a docent here. We opened, I think, 18 years ago, and I'm still here and still active in the docent role. And we have some activities here that I think are very innovative, particularly with children and young people. And we have every school day during the school year, we'll have kids in here, particularly in the mornings and some in the afternoons. And we have a dazzling array of activities for school kids based on their age and their grade level to get them interested in aviation and to keep them interested in aviation. Because if we don't do things like this, who is going to do it? There are a lot of so-called museums in this country, aviation museums, who don't do the kinds of things we do. Because, and again, because of Mr. Hiller, we are very interested in perpetuating the idea, the love of aviation and aviation history and aviation design with young people, because who's going to do it in the future? If we don't do it, a lot of other museums could care less about that. That's what we're trying to do here. And Mr. Hiller made that well known, that this was going to be an educational institution designed to keep young people, get people interested in aviation and keep them interested in aviation. And we continue to innovate. We have, in the last few years, as most of you know, drones have become a really big deal in aviation now. And just recently we opened a very different kind of drone training and activity right here in the main level of our museum. Locally designed and installed huge fence that encloses the drone area. We can put 2, 4, 6 students in there with an instructor teaching them how to handle, how to maneuver, how to make the drone do what they want to do. And you'd be surprised how quickly these kids can come almost at the expert level in handling a drone. And we do that for a purpose. And the purpose is drones are with us, and they're going to continue to be with us. And so might as well teach the young people in the beginning how to operate them properly before they go out and hurt themselves or hurt somebody else in the air. I worry about that a lot because I've flown just about everything there is. And it worries me that there are going to be uneducated people, untrained people out with fairly heavy devices, these drones, that can knock an airplane right out of the air. And we don't want that to happen. But we want the kids to have fun. We want grown-ups to have fun with the drones. But it has to be done with care and with concern that if you don't handle this little flying machine correctly, you could cause some harm. You could cause an airplane to crash. You could cause a helicopter to crash. You could kill someone. You could kill the person handling the machine. You might kill several people in a small airplane. And so it's the right way to do these kind of things, and we're interested in doing that. But that's just one example of the new type of activity that we have at our museum here, because you have to be innovative, you have to be doing new things and doing them differently, or you won't get your share of the attention that's out there. And we're very serious about that. And I think it's successful too, because I've seen some of these youngsters who get one lesson or 2 lessons, and all of a sudden they're flying drones all over the place and doing it safely. And that's what we're all about. Education in aviation and aviation materials. And what are they going to do about the future? We have 2 universities here in the Bay Area that specialize in aeronautical engineering. And this is really all part of that. If we can get a 6 or 7-year-old child, a boy or a girl, in what's going on in aviation, they're going to be better engineers. They'll be better aeronautical engineers. And so that's what we're all about. We want people to have fun here, but we also want them to do it safely, and we want them to do it with something in mind about the future. These young people that are running around the schools today, Some of them doing good things and doing them correctly, and some of them aren't. And you read about them in the newspapers every day. And we want to be on the good side of that. We want to try to teach people how to do things correctly and legally and safely. So anyway, I had to give you a little advertisement here about Hiller Aviation Museum because I love this place. And most of us here that are volunteers have been here quite a while. And we want you to come join us if you can, if you're ever in our neighborhood. We're at the San Carlos Airport, San Carlos, California, just a few miles north of San Jose. And we'd love to have you here. And we also have a great website, about as easy as you can find, hiller.org. I mean, that's pretty easy. And love to have you check our website and come see us if you're ever in the neighborhood. Now, that's enough for a while. Don't be surprised if I drag the museum back into my conversation because it's a great place and I love it. Before I leave it completely, I want to tell you about a couple of our programs that I've been involved in that I'm really happy about. And that's our program for Boy Scouts and a separate program for Girl Scouts. And they are excellent people with good docents involved who are just as attached to it as I am. And I specialize in the Aviation Merit Badge for Boy Scouts. I've also done the awards and badges that we have also for the young women in the Girl Scout program. The Aviation Merit Badge for boys is really difficult to get in a normal situation because it requires you to go to all these different places to learn about the weather and to learn about navigation and to learn about the rules and regulations and to learn how to pre-flight an airplane. Whereas with our program, we take the merit badge itself and the requirements for the merit badge and put it into a one-day situation. And it's very popular because the boys can come here either individually or with their troop, and they can spend the entire day right here at the museum and complete all the requirements for the Aviation Merit Badge. And so we get boys from all over the place who come here because there are probably other institutions who do the same thing, but I'm not aware of them. But having an opportunity to come to one place and spend one day and get the merit badge is a huge advantage. I'm an Eagle Scout myself, ever since 1943, and it just makes me so happy to see us staying with what's going on in the world with the Girl Scout program and the Boy Scout program. So if you happen to know somebody that's interested in that kind of work, come out and see us or give us a call or check our website. All that stuff is in the website, including we have a newsletter that's published on a regular basis that will give you our schedule of how things are going. Okay, now